Suikoden is often hailed as one of the best JRPG experiences out there, a certified must-play for anybody looking to dive into the genre. Remakes and remasters are becoming a frequent trend as publishers start to realize that it's both cheaper and also low risk to repackage these classics for the newer generation. Either way, it's a win-win. Newcomers get to experience these gems for the first time, while longtime fans can relive the magic with a fresh coat of paint. In recent years, I revisited both Suikoden 1 and also 2, and it was an amazing time. On one hand, I was blown away by the incredible game design, attention to detail, and emotional depth packed into every single pixel. On the other, I couldn't believe how many bugs managed to slip through the cracks back then. Despite the original's flaws, I found myself more drawn to the characters than I expected. It's wild to think that a game from that era limited by technology could be stocked so full with content and a rich story. Since we are talking about Suikoden 1, we're going to dive into the fixes and updates that the remaster brought to the table. If you do remember the first game, you might recall the many different issues that were present. One of the biggest problems was the inventory system, which had a nasty habit of permanently losing key items like the blinking mirror if they were on characters who died in battle or who were removed from your party permanently. This was a game with permadeath story elements after all. Thankfully, the remaster fixed this by giving important items their own dedicated tab, making it impossible to lose them accidentally. That being said, the inventory system still feels like it's a bit of a headache. Constantly having to shuffle items between your characters and managing your storage is very clunky, and for reasons unknown, this part of the game was left largely unchanged. A change would have been nice, but at least it's not as game-breaking as it used to be. It's still tedious to navigate though. Saving is still tied to inns and the occasional save stones, which rarely pop up. If you're not saving religiously before a major event, you'll likely find yourself replaying an hour or more of content after a sudden death, so I do hope you like Deja Vu. When it comes to combat, one of the best additions is the ability to speed up battles by ×3 with autoplay. Playing the original made me realize just how much of the game's runtime was spent watching long animations. With the speed boost, combat moves at a much better pace, which makes grinding and battle sequences feel far less drawn out. It's a quality of life upgrade that's become a staple in modern remasters. Honestly, I can't imagine anybody wanting to go back to the extra 20 hours of slow combat after experiencing this faster pace. The story follows a classic JRPG formula, starting off with a rather cliché setup. You are the son of a renowned general, raised in a loving family that cares about your well-being. But everything falls apart, and then you are cast out of the very home and kingdom that once protected you. Now with your honor in ruins, you set out into the world determined to make a name for yourself and bring peace back to this torn kingdom, no matter the odds that you may face. Finding yourself caught in the grasp of the Liberation Army as former members of the Imperial Guard, you join their ranks determined to overthrow Emperor Barbarossa. The world is teetering on the brink of ruin due to his association with an ancient tribe of rune-bearers, the wielders of powerful relics that grants destructive powers capable of bringing nations to their knees and controlling the minds of those around them. Becoming the new leader of the Liberation Army, you are tasked with gathering allies. You can recruit over 108 characters, 60 of whom are playable. The rest of the characters offer shops, minigames, and other unique elements that enrich your journey. It may not be the most innovative entry in the series, but it is a strong contender with a compelling story with many memorable characters. When the remaster was first announced and after the inevitable pushback for its release, I was actually pretty skeptical. They were changing the backgrounds and other visual elements but leaving the character sprites untouched. This contrast between the high-res backgrounds and blocky pixelated sprites to me initially felt very lazy. But after spending time with the remaster, I can safely say that it wasn't poorly done. The way that they showcased the game's screenshots was most likely the issue. They focused too much on the high-resolution locations like Gregminster, which did look good but also made the sprite clashing stand out more because it's the first location of the game, therefore likely worked on the most. In contrast, when you explored other locations, the mixture of high-res and low-res visuals balanced each other out more evenly, where it felt a lot more natural. Suikoden's OST carries a sense of boundless adventure, with sweeping melodies that shift effortlessly, capturing moments of heroism, like with the theme of the advancing army, where it opens up with a tactical build-up as it slowly eases into the sounds of a story of a hero's greatest triumph in the heat of battle. The soundtrack perfectly invoked the vastness of the open world and dense, untamed nature, using rich, organic sounds like tribal drums, along with a gentle tapping of percussion to help immerse you. These elements flowed together brilliantly, like the story itself, sometimes being quick and exciting, and other times slow and contemplative, mirroring the more serious and reflective moments. It immerses you in the unfolding story as another companion through the many challenges. The game played flawlessly with no FPS drops, no crashes, and no major issues that I could even remotely try to force. Everything that made Suikoden iconic remained intact. From its rich story and well-developed characters to the connections between them, the farming, the boss fights, and even the military rock-paper-scissors gameplay. It's a beautiful remaster of a classic JRPG that still holds a special place for many fans. Surprisingly, the remaster for Suikoden 1 only took me about 15 hours to complete, which did feel a bit too quick, especially since I did not rush through it. I played through the story, read everything, farmed, gambled some more, and then just like that, it was over. I'd recommend taking your time, but it feels a bit silly when 15 to 20 hours of gameplay is padded out by the original's drawn-out combat due to the sped-up gameplay. The faster battle speed in the remaster helps, but it ultimately makes the experience feel like it doesn't last long enough. The game uses a turn-based combat system with a fairly standard approach, but it also includes secret interactions between characters and their unison attacks, triggered when they share a strong enough connection with a particular character. While these interactions add an interesting layer to the combat, they're not really essential. You can still progress through the game with the autoplay feature, as long as you farm a bit and keep your gear upgraded, though it could be a minor hassle when the game forces new characters into your party to progress the story, but they do catch up in level relatively quickly. Suikoden's formation system requires some organization, as character placements determine their effectiveness in battle. S-weapon users can only attack enemies in the front row when positioned in the front row themselves. M-weapon users have a lot more flexibility, being able to attack from either the front or back row and hitting the enemy front row. L-weapon users, on the other hand, can attack from the back row while reaching any enemy position. It's important to regularly adjust your formation, especially when forced to recruit new allies. If you don't, the game will change your positions, leading to inefficient placements that can hinder your effectiveness in battle. This was a pretty good remaster. Few series come close to replicating the depth that it achieved in crafting such compelling characters. Fire Emblem does come to mind as a rare exception, but Suikoden stands apart with how it weaves personal stories into the grand conflicts. Each character has their own personality, their ambitions and goals, making the world feel alive. The stakes feel real too. If you're not careful, you can lose characters in the military campaigns, adding genuine tension and also consequence. Some might argue that Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes is a perfect successor, but that is debatable. To me, it didn't come close because it was trying too hard to be a mirror image of Nanami and Ryu, with slower gameplay. If you never had the chance to experience this series, or even if you did, I fully recommend picking it up. While it may not be the best in the series compared to Suikoden 2, it was still a fantastic remake that brings the magic of the original to the new generation, so now is the time to check it out.